Welcome to Real Men Eat Plants, the podcast that challenges the stereotype that a plant-based diet is only for Eve's offspring and green smoothie anarchists. We're here to show you that real men can thrive on a plant-based diet, and that it's not only good for your health, but also for the planet, animals, and most importantly, your libido. Okay, maybe your libido shouldn't be more important than the planet, but we're just being realistic here. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of plant-based living, sharing inspiring stories, exciting plant-based news, and highlighting the achievements of individuals who have embraced this empowering way of life. So grab that green smoothie and settle into your favorite spot, and let's embark on an exciting journey together. Real Men Eat Plants is your hub for inspiration, information, and connection within the vibrant world of plant-based living. And now, here's the host of Real Men Eat Plants, Shane Martin.
Well, we're back in the kitchen, or my kitchen. So, and real men stay in the kitchen, right? Is that? Well, hey guys, I am super pumped about today. I feel like the last one of these we did, it was kind of like a bro session. And you got dudes just talking about, what our mission in life is and solving the world's problems. But I really do feel like with the whole mission of this podcast and kind of our mission, you got 4 different guys here and 4 different ways of thinking about things and 4 different reasons we probably are doing what we're doing, but a common cause, common creed, as they say. But I thought it'd be good to kind of go around and just let you guys introduce yourselves real quick so everybody knows who's on the podcast. We got our fearless leader, Bryan, who puts the plumbing in so we can have fun and talk about things online. And Paul, I'm going to come back to you because you were on the last one. But Geoff, I would love for you to introduce yourself real quick because I think this is the first time you and I have met. And I would just love to hear your voice. So,
yeah. So I'm what they call an OG vegan. I've been vegan since March 15th, 1985. So a few years ago. And back then I didn't even know the term vegan. I wasn't even aware of it. I just knew that I didn't want to cause any suffering from animals. For me, it was a change from within. I was suffering from suicidal depression after losing my brother, my father, and my mother all within a short period of time. And it was crushing to me. I got into drugs and alcohol. I was in a downward spiral and attempted to take my life, ended up in a coma for 3 days on a drug overdose. I was just desperate to find a way to try to enjoy life, and had somebody help me with a breakthrough that was so intense. I quit drinking, quit doing drugs, quit smoking cigarettes, and quit eating all animal products that day.
Wow.
It was such a profound experience for me. I not only dedicated the rest of my life to helping reduce suffering in animals, but I knew that humans were the majority of the cause of that suffering. So I said, I've got to help the humans too as well. So I dedicated the rest of my life that day to trying to find ways to help others improve their health so they're inspired enough to keep reducing the amount of impact that they have both on the animals and the environment. So that's why I formed my company, Clean Machine, to help people get better results in the gym so that they stay in the gym, so that they stay with a plant-based diet. Because recidivism is big in our, 80% of people who try veganism stop. I want to see them continue because that's the only way we can help the animals. So for me, I'm trying to show results. And look, I turned 60 in January, natural bodybuilding champion. So I want to be that example for other people to show men, hey, don't be scared of all the meat is masculinity myth bullshit propaganda that people said well, you complete that, right? This is recorded. But just to get beyond the things that are holding men back and hurting men in so many different ways, it's been a powerful experience for me. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. And I'm so grateful for what you guys are doing in saying real men eat plants right up front. Yeah. And let's get that conversation started.
Yeah, I just realized who the heck you are, Geoff. I'm sitting here going, wait a minit. This can't be. I recently was having a conversation about you with Milton Mills.
Ah, yes.
I was speaking out in Omaha at the Healthy for a Lifetime conference, and I was talking to him about my son, who's a junior at Mississippi State, got into bodybuilding, and has kind of, I mean, my son is awesome. He's an upstanding citizen, but he's kind of gone that way of the got to fuel my protein needs, And so I was talking to Milton about that, and he goes, "I'm going to get a hold of Geoff. Geoff can help you." And so now that I know this is the Geoff Palmer, I'm going to bug the living hell out of you going forward. So it's
and Geoff is actually in our silhouette. I mean, I got his form in our silhouette for the logo.
But anyway, so when you held your arms up, I went, okay, this is that Geoff Palmer. It just totally, I don't know why it didn't click, but anyway, so yeah, I'm glad to make the connection because I had an awesome time with Milton. He was awesome. So
that is the Dr. Milton Mills from Game Changers and multi-published author. He's a brilliant physician and passionate, outspoken for the movement too. As well.
And we can get him on the show. He needs to be here. So
indeed.
Yeah. So, well, Geoff, thanks for joining us. I mean, I would say what brought us to this point, but it's like you just kind of summed that up in like a minute and a half. And near death brought me here. So, so super pumped to have you. And then Paul, the OG as well of the plant-based support.
Whoa. It's tough, Geoff. Wow. Like, I'm not usually tied for words, but how do you follow up with that? I mean, I guess I would say, I think we all have our moment, in our drive. Your drive was animals, and then unfortunate things happened to your family. For me, it was just, in my world, my dad and all his brothers died in their 50s. And at 50, I, had the same issues they had. And I have 3 sons. So it was time for me to change the narrative of my family, or at least try. I'm doing it for a lot of reasons, but initially it was to show my sons a different way. And back 12 years ago, that path was a murky one because I was all alone for the first year of that path. I had no idea what lifestyle change meant. I had no idea what impact it would have on my friends and family. But here I am today at 65, and I feel great. I would show you my arms, but I've got no title. I'm just like, I love working out and spreading the word. So that's a little bit about me. The organization I run is the Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group. Proud to say the only national support group right now in the plant-based world. And then a passion play I'm doing right now with a lot of help from a lot of friends is the Sage Circle Alliance. And just so you know what it is, Geoff, Shane, and Bryan do, is, I realized many, many years ago that all the greats that we talk about, they all do very well by themselves in their own silos. And I've been for years begging these people, let's work together. They can't, they won't, and they don't. So, it's kind of, you caught my attention with the Star Trek thing, bro. It was awesome because it was one of those things where, bear with the quick story. Bryan's used to me. So it's at like 1 a.m. and I'm watching Jean-Luc Picard talking to the Q. Can you relate to that?
Totally.
And they're bantering back and forth, and he's like so impressed with the human race, and Picard's so proud of his group. And the Q, who's omnipotent, says, wait till you see what's coming at you. Snaps his fingers, shoots him over to the Borg. And right then, I said to myself, that's what we need to pivot the plant-based world, because right now we're just whispers. We lost so many people with COVID. We're just whispers. Everyone's working independently. So the Sage Circle Alliance is going to bring not the top tier. They'll come in time, I pray and hope. but that next huge group of people like myself and Bryan and Shane and yourself, all together as one voice, and then we could actually do some real work. We can make a world of difference. So that's where I'm spending my plant-based time, which is way out of hand, but I love it because I want to make a difference just like all of us do. So thank you.
Yeah. And it's interesting. And Bryan, I don't really feel like you and I need to introduce ourselves. People are going to get tired of us anyway. So they know our stories. But, but here's the thing, when
Kapop, kapop.
Oh Lord, I didn't know I was going to be on with Trekkies today. One of the things I find interesting is with the four of us and most people that when it comes to this lifestyle change, like you were talking about, Paul and Geoff, even you, it feel like it was at crucial moments in our lives, and whether it was health, drug addiction, and things like that. But I find it interesting, and there's not many things that I've come across like that changes your life, like when you go plant-based and you see the difference in the results. It's crazy the passion that develops, because I mean, I still tell people, if you told me, I went vegan, I think, a little over 10 years ago, right before I turned 40, and, pursuing it in some way as a lifestyle for, as a livelihood was the furthest thing from my mind. And when I hear these stories, and I think that's what attracts people, people love stories, and especially when it is something that entices you and encapsulates your life as much as like pursuing a plant-based life, a lifestyle that changes your life, you really kind of become this evangelist of sorts, because you have seen how it has it's not that it just changes a direction in your life, but it completely overhauls how you think, your health. And regardless if you came to it for the animals or, I feel like, Paul, mine and your story parallels a little better in the sense that, hey, I've got to do something. I've got kids. I've got to wake up. I want to wake up the next morning. It's like you become passionate about that. And when you see the results, it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm walking evidence. And so, I think of Bryan, you going out wanting to start this network of podcasts, and then Geoff, getting in and going after fitness and creating products to keep people going. And then Paul creating a support group, and, which I've had the honor of being on a couple of times to cook. So, I mean, Geoff, I want to kind of come back to you, just so we can dive into your story a little bit more. But, when you talk about being vegan since 1985, I think about how far the plant-based arena has come in the last 10 years as far as accessibility and products and things like that. But what was it like in 1985? Because I mean, again, I can't imagine it being much different in the sense that there were beans and rice available then. But it's like when you decided to, like, I'm all in, and I don't really know what this is, but how did you fuel your body, and what was available to you that wasn't available now? And then how did you make concessions for that? I've just, most people I know that run in my circles have been doing it for 5-10 years, and I know the Rip Esselstyns and things like that, but 1985, man, it's like, was soy milk even available then? I was like,
I worked at a little health food store, and back then, tofu came in big 10-gallon buckets, and you actually took a plastic bag and you fished out your block of tofu and then wrapped it in the plastic bag, and that's how you took your tofu up to the register.
Wow.
It was like bobbing for tofu, I guess you could call it. But I mean, I used to laugh that back then our choice of vegan products was sawdust, rubber, or cardboard. At least that's what they tasted like. The quality of the products, oh my God. I mean, I just posted last week that Krispy Kreme has now got several vegan options of their donuts. I mean, like, this was, if I said Krispy Kreme was going to go offer vegan donuts in 1985, right, people would look at me like I'm from a different planet. or from a future way, way distant than we are now. But here we are. It's amazing, that we're seeing such change. No, but I think the biggest issue, the products is a huge thing. It's making more fun foods, enjoyable foods, and foods that are familiar people, making it easier for them to make the transition. Are they the healthiest? No, but neither are the animal counterparts. They're not. They don't eat them because they're healthy. You don't eat a burger because it's healthy. You don't eat pizza or a donut because it's healthy. You do it because it's enjoyable. And what we needed is to take some of the stigma away that it's nothing but rabbit food and give people some familiar options. That was important, but I think it's starting to come a little bit more full circle, and people really do want healthier options. And now it's starting to come into that. But like what Paul is doing, there was no support group for vegans. There was probably 60 of us in my state. It's not enough to even have a support group. So it was like that. The social element, to me, honestly, has been the most challenging part. Because if I told somebody I was vegan, what is that, like from Planet Vega? They didn't even know what the word meant. Nobody knew what the word meant. I didn't even know when I was vegan. It took me a year before somebody told me, "Oh, you're vegan." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, there's a word for it." I was calling myself a strict vegetarian. So we've come a long way on so many fronts: social fronts, food product choices, accessibility, familiarity, education, doctors now prescribing and suggesting it. I mean, that didn't happen. Look, there wasn't even science published about vegan diets. We weren't on the map. They didn't even include. All of the diet studies were done on standard American diet. So there wasn't even published research. So when I would suggest, hey, you can get all your omega-3s from plants and suffice that, it wasn't until just last year that we actually even this year is going to be published that we have solid science proving what I've been saying for the last 25 years. Now, that's sad that, it's taken this long for the scientific community to catch up and actually prove what we've known intuitively, compassionately, and physiologically for decades. And look, this goes back to Hippocrates. We're talking hundreds of years ago, people understood that this was the way to eat. So sorry for the long-winded answer there. But
no, but I think I think it's true. I mean, it's like when you think about it, civilizations. I remember my wife talking to, I think it was my niece one time. She said, and this was after we have the research, and this was a few years ago, but she said, I overheard her say, she said, because my niece was unhealthy and we were trying to help her. And she said, you can go back and find civilization after civilization that has thrived and healthy on a predominantly plant-based diet with grains, legumes over centuries and centuries. But you can't find societies that thrived and had longevity on strictly meat-based diets or animal protein diets. It doesn't exist. And so it's like, where have we been? And, and thank God that the research is there now, but you're right. It's like, why were we not talking about this? I mean, I always heard you got to eat your greens growing up, but we always followed that up. You got to get a big piece of lard in there or season it with pork or something, so kind of fast forward with all of us here, and it's like, why are we here? And we've kind of shared a little bit of why we're here, but it kind of makes me think when you talk about why it took so long for the research to get here. It's like, okay, I feel like you go into a store and it's like America specifically is starting to catch on, and it's like everything's labeled plant-based now. I feel like the Impossible Burgers and the corn dogs and, even the local Walmart here in Little Nowhere, Mississippi, they have this section, and I see some people getting it, but it's like, okay, it's here. And what brought you here? And people are like, well, I want to get healthier. And it's like, okay, kind of missing the boat a little bit. You can't eat the vegan corn dogs and hamburgers every day and, get healthy. And you're right, they're good to have, but I still don't see men picking those things out, even though they're unhealthy and look like what you would get. And I guess it's like, as 4 dudes, I mean, what did bring us here? Because I think when I think about that, and one of the things Bryan and I talk about is I don't feel like men still are really given a space to feel like they can get to where they need to be. Like I still feel like men have this apprehension whether it's a protein or I'm going to be jeered or I'm going to be laughed at. And so I think there's an aspect of men struggling to really wanting to get let me rephrase. I don't think that men don't want to get there. I feel like men don't feel the freedom to be transparent enough to find the ways to get there, if that makes sense, meaning the support of where they're going to go to open up and be vulnerable. Because I mean, it is especially here in the South. I mean, where everything's pork and beef and talk about showing up to a cookout with some smoked tofu or something. I mean, Paul, I'd kind of, you're very outspoken, so I would love to hear like I just want to tell men to grow a pair and let's do it, but it's like sometimes,
I would say, listen, we're men, so we like the challenge.
Sure.
And no one likes to be called out, or talked down to, like, hey, you said grow a pair, so I would say the P word, but I'm going to stay away from that one. The point here is that I remember doing, I had an opportunity to go to all the assembly line workers at General Motors.
Mm-hmm.
And this is back 8 years ago. And I would talk to them, and I went to, 8 different plants. And, I would say, what's your health issue? And you go right up and down the line, because most of them were morbidly obese. A great many of them had heart issues. A great many of them had diabetes. They had some health issues. And I would look at them, and I got, I get kind of brutal with them. I'd say, listen, what's your number one priority? Well, I work on the line so I could provide for my family. That's my number one thing. I take every hour I can. And I need to provide for that's my job. And I said, well, what happens in a couple of years if you're gone? Who's going to provide for that family now? I said, well, and they said, well, how do you suggest doing it? So I would say, you got to get rid of the meat and the dairy, and I, being a heart patient, I always threw in the oil, but I would hold back on the assembly line workers. I'd just say, you got to give up the meat and dairy and start, creating some foods that you like. Just come up with 4 or 5 and keep repeating. I said, he said, well, I can't do this. I can't do it. Everyone can't do it. And then it got brutal. Then I would look at him. I said, listen, if somebody had a gun to your head and said, if you don't do it for 60 days, you're done. Well, I guess I could do it then. I mean, you're going to have to just sit there with people and call them out and press them on to say, just have an open mind for 60 days. We have 21-day jump starts and 30 and all that, but you go 60, you blood test it at the beginning, you blood test it at the end, they're going to lose 20 pounds easy. They're going to see their numbers drop 10, 15, 20%. They're going to see results. And then you got the hook in them. But that's the big problem that I see, which is, very few guys are going to go just on the science and say, wow, it makes a lot of sense. Today I'm going to do a lifestyle change. That's not right. The other part of this equation is, I think we're going about it a little bit wrong, which is, for anybody, and this is a tough thing for guys, but I used to go at this thing going, hey, you could do anything for 60 days and leave it at that. But now I say to people, if you really want to make this change for whatever the reason, animals, planet, your own health, your family, whatever the reason, you need to lean on somebody in the psychological world and get some tools. So when you go to a restaurant, you don't give in. When you go traveling, you don't give in. When you go to a family function, you don't give in, because, I'm just crazy. So I was able to do it just like Geoff overnight. I just said, switch on, switch off. Yeah. But I was faced with crazy health problems. I was motivated.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that we need to start helping guys understand just how big a change this is, but give them the hope and give them some future hope. And I think that's how you might hook a guy. That's
it. And I think too, I think Bryan and Geoff, you both have kind of created, like, I know the Real Men challenge has the 30-day challenge on the website. And, I feel like, Bryan, kind of go into that a little bit, kind of what spawned that, because I feel like that kind of talks a little bit. I know Paul was talking about 60 days, and yeah, 60 days really, really does test you. But, it's funny because I've been talking to guys, that feel like if they can just get through the first day or the first week. So, Bryan, talk about that just real quick about the 30-day challenge. And then, Geoff, I would love to hear about the World Vegan Bodybuilding Championship that you created, because guys don't like anything like they do muscles, and so.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't echo what Paul said enough. I mean, I think I don't know fully your story there, Shane, but like 3 out of 4 of us, we went basically cold turkey vegan the next day. The thing, that's how it was for me. But I know 80% of the guys out there can't. And so to say what Paul said and reinforce that is we need support. And so that's what I realized very quickly as I tried to tell some of my men, and they're saying, well, my food poops on your food kind of concept, that they're wrong. And we've got to change that stigma here. And so I created the Real Men Eat Plants 30-day challenge to be a template and a framework and a guide to guide you through some of the things that I went through in my first 30 days on your journey of, like, even as Geoff said, what is a vegan? What's the difference between a vegan and a vegetarian and a octo, all those other ones out there? Guide you through education, guide you through nutrition and protein things, and showcase other men. So like we're redoing the 30-day challenge. I hope to get that polished, and I hope to maybe have Geoff loop in one day, and Shane loop in one day, and Paul loop in one day with like a little bit of anecdote from other men that have gone through this shift to showcase there are real men out there doing this. You can too. We're here to help you. Like, look, I'd love to get people into Paul's group to have that support system, but yeah, so the 30-day challenge is out there. It's on the website, and it's ready to help, change the planet and the stigma for real men. So, Geoff, tell us more about the bodybuilding though. I know we talked about that briefly before.
Yeah, and I think part of the biggest pressure for men, men don't like to pretend they're not very emotional. They're very emotional, just like every other human being on this planet. But their feelings are different. And one of the things that men fear most is being judged by their peers. And it's a fear that, unfortunately, the food agribusiness has played upon very successfully, that you need to eat meat in order to be masculine. And that if you don't, you're going to be judged by your peers as losing your man card, And that is such a pronounced fear that men will fight even their own death sentence. They did in Australia, polled 1,000 people and asked them, and 70% of men said they would rather give up 10 years of their life than give up eating meat. 10 years of their life. Is that how little we value life? Is that how scared we are of being judged by our peers? I mean, one of the masculine traits is supposed to be bravery. That's not very brave if you're caving to a industry propaganda that is using psychology to play on your fears that you're going to be judged by your peers. That's weak. That's being manipulated. What I'm saying is be really strong, be really brave, and stand up for the truth that meat is killing you. And I'm going to say no, regardless of what my peers say. That's a man. That's standing up to the crowd of resistance.
Amen. Hallelujah.
So I wanted to show some, obviously by living an example at 60 years and almost 4 decades of being vegan, that, look, don't be afraid that you're going to lose muscle. That's not the case. It's a myth, and it's a very successful myth propagated by an industry that wants you to keep buying and eating their products. It's a sales tactic. Stop believing the sales tactics are truth. The studies, the research is just overwhelming right now that higher rates of cancer, higher rates of diabetes, 62%, brand new study just out in 2023. The highest rates of meats had a 62% higher chance of getting diabetes. Diabetes is caused by fat, not sugar. They made this narrative, oh, don't look over here at the saturated fat and cholesterol in our meat. Look at those, isolated carbs and sugar. That's the culprit. That's the bad guy. Point. Yeah, well, don't eat that either. There's whole food plants that you can eat. But that's what they've done to manipulate the narrative. And we need to re-seize that narrative, take control, and tell men the truth and get them to stand up against this peer pressure and this propaganda of a agricultural business that's selling you on a psychology of meat is masculinity. That's a lie. It's killing you. It's the opposite of being masculine. If you want to be here for your parents who are in their aging years, if you want to be here for your family, that's masculine. The way to do that is to survive, to be healthy, to be able to play with your kids as they grow up, to be physically in the best shape. Look, I take 0 drugs, no medication, have no diseases at 60 years of age. Most of the people I know, everyone in my family except my sister, who hasn't reached 60 yet, died before they reached 60. Here I am thriving. That's what you should be. That's what you can be. It's time to re-seize this narrative that's the proper way for men to behave. It's not, and it's killing you. And let's stand up for the truth.
Yeah, man, that is wow. Okay, I just feel like we just went to church.
Hey, can I piggyback on something?
Yeah, and
let me just piggyback on something that I've been thinking about. And Geoff, really nice words. Really, I agree with you. But think about what would happen if we were all working together, head of voice, and we point our finger to what I think is the biggest culprit. Yes, they are manipulating us through advertising. I totally agree there. But what happens if we went right at and this has always been a crazy wish list, and I'm going to just say it. I once wanted to do a class action suit at the medical schools or the doctors. I looked into it, and I just don't have enough money. But the point here is, what would happen if we got the science, right? We have the irrefutable science. What happens if we called out every single medical school? Because not only one school that I know of here in Michigan is teaching nutrition to future doctors, period. And what would happen if we said it's mandatory, it's got to be part of what doctors learn, and it's the first thing that anybody who goes into a doctor's office should be asked by a doctor, what do you eat? It should be mandated. Because because we hold doctors at such high regard, and a lot of us are sheep. I'm a sheep to my wife, by the way. I'm freely admitting that. It works well for me. But my point here is, if every doctor came in and you were sick and said, hey, what are you eating? That whole narrative would change. All of a sudden, they'd be promoting healthier eating. And we wouldn't have to worry about so many other modalities and sicknesses because we'd have the support of our doctor. And they're the ones that ultimately, like, I'll stay home, I'll be sick as a dog. But finally, there's a moment every once in a while where I say, all right, got to go see a doctor. That's it. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. And that's when I had the heart disease, or that's when I got a knee where I need a meniscus looked at, because I can't, plant-based won't help me. Otherwise I would do it. Okay. I would just stay plant-based, I'd stay on course. But just think about if we could have a big enough voice where we made that type of change. That's what might make the biggest change, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Dr. Michael Clapper is actually doing exactly what you just described.
Hey, and guess what? He's using my medical course material to try and sell it. And here's the problem. The problem is it's not being received. I mean, Michael Clapper is beautiful and a genius and a kind, good doctor. And he's like one of us. But I check in on it because I gave him the medical course material to promote. And it's not being received. It's people are like, oh, I'm excited about it. It's great. Because I spent 2 years trying to do it here in Michigan and only got one school to make a change. Only one. So we've got to be a bigger influencer with the medical schools.
Yeah.
Pharma, unfortunately, is dictating that a bit. All the medical schools, all the medical research is paid mostly by pharma. That is where they get their funds from. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. It's an entrenched system of money manipulating the narrative, and we have to overcome that. But speaking to individuals, the individual students don't have that investment yet. Doctors do. They get paid by the pharmaceutical companies. The researchers get paid by pharmaceuticals. Hospitals get paid by pharma. They're all on the take. Pharmaceuticals only needed when they're sick people. So there's no impetus to change the system because everybody's profiting from the system, the sick care system.
Well,
that needs to change.
I think that, Geoff, it's like there's no money in wellness.
Exactly.
There's no money in health. I mean, that's why there's no broccoli industry. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like lobbyists. But with that being said, we got to pay the bills real quick. Speaking of how do we get healthy, guys, at Shane and Simple, it is your ultimate destination for all things plant-based. It will revolutionize your approach to healthy eating because there is an array of mouth-watering, nutritious recipes. At Shane and Simple, it is a vibrant hub where you will find inspiration and guidance to embark on a journey towards a healthier lifestyle. The heart of the blog, you'll discover an array of delectable plant-based recipes that are both simple to make, bursting with flavors, and everything, as always, is completely oil-free. So whether you're a seasoned vegan or just starting to explore the world of plant-based eating, Shane and Simple is your go-to resource for wholesome, accessible meals that your taste buds and body will love. So join the plant-based revolution. Embrace the joy of healthy eating and subscribe now at shaneandsimple.com. It's time to savor food that not only nourishes your body, but also tantalizes your taste buds and cooks with compassion. And for right now, we are going to be holding a plant-based cooking class for Thanksgiving on November 19th at 6 o'clock. It's $10, and I'm going to cook with you. There will be no fancy camera tricks, no editing. We're going to do it all together. So join us, won't you? All right, guys. So now let's get back to the show.
Got me. It's I'm looking forward to seeing more about that Thanksgiving menu you're popping out there.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care what anybody says. I make the best pumpkin pie. I'm just gonna tell you. So anyway, well, I want to go back.
I guess I'm in the healthcare business myself, primarily in the technology side of things, dealing with a lot of telemedicine aspects of it. So I see everything that you're talking about in the workflows that I help craft and create. But I do see I have hope that as the government reveals more carrots and more sticks on certain things, as we drive towards outcome-driven care and value-based care and population health management kind of thing, that we are going to shift the needle towards looking at the outcomes of getting people to be healthy and avoiding some of those patterns. So I see the government pushing on that stick. It might be 20 years away, it might be 50 years away, 100 years away, but I see us heading in the right direction on certain fronts. So I'm hopeful. But yeah, Shane, did you have something else?
No, I think, kind of on that, it does make me wonder, because I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I never have been. I mean, I got people in my family that, are ready to dig bunkers and store weapons and stuff like that. But, it's like as polarizing as things have become over the last several years, regardless of where you lay on the political spectrum, to seeing how polarized we are, not just with politics and everything else that's going on, but I feel like it's like that in the plant-based world now. It's like it doesn't happen a lot, but when a guy I know just lost a bunch of weight doing the intermittent fasting and does predominantly paleo, and I'm like, when you go back to eating normal, you're going to gain all your weight back, right? And he's like, well, what do I need to do? Eat like you? And I was like, yeah, that's what you need to do, and so I do feel like there's this. I try not to be a cynical person, but it's kind of hard. And it's like, and you say that you see things moving in the right direction, Bryan, but part of me is like, they want us sick. They want us sick. They want us like I'm to the point now where I think there's a cure for cancer and they've got it buried in a mountain out in Colorado somewhere. It's like, and so I mean that's good to hear, and I hope that's the case. But it's like I would think that people that are getting well, because it's like a funeral home. It's never going to go out of business. People are always going to suffer from sicknesses and things like that. But I would think what would garner more patience or whatever, I don't know. It's a struggle for me to believe that it's getting better, because I do still sense that there is some hostility in trying to suppress truth. But if you say it is and you're working in it, I have no reason not to trust you, and that's encouraging. Paul, there was something you wanted. I'm sorry.
I definitely think they're heading in the right direction, but I also think the other thing is like we're facing this baby boomer shortage of doctors and everything else. So like there's just going to be a shortage of it, even if the government has the mandate for it. So
yeah,
Paul, jump in here. You're in the medical system as a patient side of it right now.
Yeah, I mean, all I was going to say is that, like, when they started coming up with, like, when smoking was terrible for people, they say it took like 40, 50 years for the truth to come out, or something like that. And now, like, we've been waiting for, 15 years since the China study, give or take a few years, and no one's refuted it. And, there hasn't been anything groundbreaking because it's still holding true, all the information. And I just wonder, like, and again, I just think that if we could create a voice, where we could use the power of social media and everything that goes with it, and call out just call out the truth. This world's set up for sick people. The pharmaceuticals are doing this. The doctors and all the hospitals are making that. And at the end of the day, like we just have to call. I think we just as a alliance, as a group, call it out, call the truth out, and let people make their own choices. But we're not big enough to do it. Like, because we're just individual people telling individuals or small groups about what's going on, or living it by example. But how many people do you really touch, in a year? Like I'm trying to be out there all the time. I don't touch even close to enough. And I just don't have the time. Like I have the patience, not as much as I would like, but it's like time, I don't want to wait another 10 more years and see more people suffer. You know what I'm saying? So why can't we just figure a way to pool everything and get it out there, and then we'll find out. But it's frustrating because too many people I care about are sick.
Yeah. I mean, and I think about what Geoff said a while ago. That's why I think when it comes to men, that at some point, I feel like, like I said this on the last podcast, like the majority of my audience, 88 to 94% are women when I look at the analytics. And women do moderation better. Women hear information better. They're willing to sit and listen and take the notes. I think, Geoff, it's kind of like what you said. Like I'm can be a fairly confrontational person, and I think sometimes it's just us that have already come to this point and our lives have changed, and saying, "Hey, dude, getting in people's grill and going, okay, either change or die. That's your option, And if and it's like, look, it's like smoking. I mean, we really have to have the little thing on the side of the cigarette packs that says this could cause cancer. I mean, you're sucking tar into your lungs, But so, in the fact that it took 40, 50 years for people to get there, I get that. But I feel like, it's like we have so much misinformation when it comes to diet. When we, it's like eat this amount of chicken or eat this, and everybody is just fed this crap, And so I think for men, I just feel like if there are people in our lives, I'm Geoff. That's why it's like I'm going to get in your grill and just said, okay, you go do that, because people tell me, well, I'm just not going to change. Well, don't. And then when you got 3 stents put in when you're 45, and then it's not because of your genes, it's because it's your lifestyle. And so I do feel like there's a call and we got to stop doing stupid vegan things. It's like, yeah, let's protect the climate and do that, but stop gluing your hand to the highway and stop in traffic, and because that's or whatever, and throwing paint on pictures or whatever it is. I mean, it's that I feel like we those are the ones getting all the attention. So I feel like we've got to do something to step up and be more vocal, and I get it, it costs money and everything, but I do feel like for men that I just feel like a confrontational way is going, hey, man up, just protect your family, or those you love, or quit killing yourself and being a drain on the system, And okay, now
You
my non-compassion.
inspire me. Like I want to get enough men together. We all chip in $1. We get 1 million vegan men, chip in $1, and we get our football commercial for Real Men Eat Plants on the Super
There
Bowl.
you go.
You know what I mean? Like
There
that
you
would be game changer.
Super Bowl.
So
Well, guys, I feel like I could rant for another 2 hours. I hate that we got to go. I mean, we need to come back. Maybe we can do a volume 2 of this, or chapter 2 or something. But I mean, Bryan's got a real job. He has to go get on a call.
Oh, those IT guys,
I know, man. Yeah. Or they at least say they are, So, yeah. Geoff, thanks so much for coming on, man, and just sharing your story. And I would like to, before we go, tell us about your products and your website, where people can find you, and we'll definitely post some stuff in the show notes and everything. But tell us a little bit about your company before we go, and your website and everything.
Yeah, so I've worked for 35 years in the natural products industry, and worked for some of the top companies in the industry: Vitamin Shop, Whole Foods, 24-Hour Fitness, MRI, BSN. So, I work for some of the biggest companies in the industry, and I see a lot of good things that are going on, and some not so good things going on. And most of the companies are marketing-based companies. And the way you make money is you build really cheap products and sell them for a higher price, and advertise and convince everybody to buy your products. Well, that kind of ends up getting the customer the cheapest product so that the company can be more successful. So you've got a system that degrades quality and rewards marketing. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to put all the money into the quality of the products. So I created a company called Clean Machine. Clean Machine, based on keeping this amazing machine that we're born into clean, free of drugs, free of animal products, and to show people what amazing results can come when you find the absolute best in nature. Ahi flower, the richest source of omega-3s of any plant source in the world. The Lemna product that we're coming out with, the number one superfood on the planet, higher in nutrient density than kale, spinach, spirulina, even moringa. I go out and find, through the research, these extraordinary plants, because we're such a place right now. 77% obesity and overweight. 77%. That's 3 out of every 4 people. That means 3 of us would be overweight or obese in this country. That's horrible. So we need extraordinary products to compensate for our health. So we do give back programs, as you can see, with Food for Life Global. We've fed over 10,000 hungry children all over the world through our efforts through Food for Life Global. But we've got over 9 national awards for our product assortment. And that's what I want to do. It's my give back, really. I'm passionate about helping people be the living example, so they can inspire others to say, hey, look, I accomplished this without drugs and without any animal products whatsoever. That's what we're about.
Okay. And again, the website is
cleanmachineonline.com. I do weekly podcasts, not competing with you guys, but every Thursday at 4 p.m. I cover all the latest research on why plant-based and exercise is very important to our overall health. So if you want the latest research that is just coming right out of the presses, I talk about them. I break down the science into simple terms so that everybody can understand and follow along. And I always provide the links to the studies and the bias and all that kind of too, so that you can look at the studies and see the research for yourself and make sure. Look, I'm out to empower people with information. Yes. Information that you can use to apply to your life. And for me, as a son of a professor and a psychologist, that's what I want to do, is give back, is make people feel stronger about their choices so they can make the best choices for their life and their family.
All right. Cleanmachineonline.com, right?
Very good. Yep.
Check it out and check out the podcast. Is the podcast Clean Machine as well?
It's Clean Machine Fit on Facebook or Clean Machine Online at YouTube.
All right. And Paul, your website for the plant-based support group?
www.pbnsg.org. And if you need some support, we have both speaker events, culinary events, and 16 different specific support groups. And you could, for our membership is a whopping $20 a month, and you could go to one event or you can go to 20 that we have every single month. And then soon we'll be announcing something bigger called the Sage Circle Alliance. We will let you know when we're ready, but we're working on it.
Excellent. And you got a nice collection of vegan chefs on there. So,
well, you're one of them, buddy.
Well, that's what I was getting to. So, guys, thank you so much. It's great to laugh. It's great to rant, and it's great to be here together for the cause. And let's come back again and do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thank you for joining us today for Real Men Eat Plants.
Thank you so much
for having us, Shane.
All right, you've reached the end of another enlightening episode of Real Men Eat Plants. We've revved up the man machine and explored the thrilling world of veggies. Remember, guys, flexing your manhood isn't about the size of the steak on your plate, but the strength of sprouts in your salad bowl. For those eager to continue their journey towards plant-powered masculinity, buckle up and head over to our website at realmeneatplants.com. There, you'll unlock access to exclusive content, mouth-watering recipes, and advice from the plant-based powerhouses themselves. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on social media for your daily dose of inspiration and connect with a community of men just like you who have joined the Plant Parade. Remember, it's not just about becoming stronger, healthier, and more vibrant. You're also becoming an eco-warrior, playing a vital role in the wellness of our planet. We appreciate your support and can't wait to catch up with you in the next episode. Until then, keep fueling your manhood with Mother Nature's pantry. And remember, with a sprig of humor, Real Men Eat Plants will be rooting for you until we meet again.